Hi, welcome back to another episode of Nobody's Doing It Right, the podcast for those who are uncertain. My name is Kat. I am your host. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about why you should consume just as much as you create. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I have been seeing the narrative a lot online about how you should create more than you consume. And I understand where that's coming from, don't get me wrong. You don't want to get lost in consumption and over consuming things and forgetting to actually create your art and put effort into that and be stuck on, okay, I need more inspiration, I need more information, I need more. I get that. However, I also don't think it is beneficial to you or the work you're putting out or your, motivation and inspiration to create more than you consume, because you will drain yourself. You will have nothing to pull from if you're not also consuming and experiencing things. And what I mean by consuming, I don't just mean consuming other content or artwork or whatever. I mean just like consuming in terms of life, experiencing life, letting yourself be out in the world in whatever way, whether that's online or in person, whatever, and letting yourself absorb, to consume in that way. You cannot create in a vacuum. And if you don't have enough fuel in your tank, you will be creating things that are just repetitions of themselves. And I can say this as somebody who creates a lot of content. I like it. I like short content that is, punchy to the point, and I like putting it out often. It's fun for me. That's how I enjoy doing it. Some people like to take more time between their content to do the work they need to do for it. I like to put it out. And for me, also in terms of my own self-sabotage, I need to put it out more often, and my perfectionism too. I need to put it out more often and faster so that I don't get into a slump. If I wait too long, if I hold myself back, if I say I have to take like a week to really form this thing properly, I will sabotage myself. I will get into a perfectionist mindset and I will just not do it. I'll hold myself back. I'll get scared after a while. So for me, I create a lot and I put a lot out there because that's just how I need to work in order to continue creating. That's what gives me that drive and motivation. And with that, I have also had to realize that I cannot completely create without also consuming to keep fueling me. The same way as if you were constantly working out. I want to work out 6 days a week, but you're also not eating enough to maintain that. You have to. You're going to be running on an empty tank, literally. So you have to continue to consume at the same time. And if you don't, you will end up, like I said, repeating yourself, and you will continue creating things that are not as rich as they could be. And what I mean by that is, without having the information, the knowledge, the experience, the inspiration, the motivation from other things in life, from other people, from other artists, books, whatever it is for you, the things you then create are not informed by anything other than just what you already have replaying in your mind. So it becomes shallow after a while. And I've seen this happen to creators, and I hope it doesn't happen to me, but maybe it has at times. Like, it's fine. It is what it is. But I've seen it happen to some creators where they get lost in their own sauce to an extent. They are creating in a vacuum. They maybe are full-time content creators now, so they have no other external source of connection or input or information from something other than just like their friend group or whatever. They're not forced into circumstances where they have to maybe learn different things or see things differently because it's like maybe a job or something that's forcing them to have to do things. So they create content and the content becomes repetitive. It becomes the same thing in different fonts in a sense. And maybe, listen, that could be said about my content too. I try my best not to do that. I try my best to give differing perspectives. Sometimes I talk about the same topic, but I try to offer a different spin on it, like a different point of view on it, because I think that can also be beneficial for people who maybe one person, it resonates the first time I said it in this specific way, but maybe if I re-say it in a different way, it'll resonate with somebody else. So that's what I try to do when it comes to repetition. But I've also even caught myself at times running on an empty tank and putting out content where it's like, okay, I talked about this already and I have nothing new to offer about this thing. I have no new perspective or reframing of it because I've just closed myself off to consuming anything else external that it can fuel me, that can give me more perspectives, more information. And I've seen a lot of other creators do this too, where they become full-time creators, which great, love that for them. They become full-time creators and they maybe, and obviously I don't know their lives. I only see what's going on the screen or whatever from what they're creating. but they start talking about the same topics over and over again. And they kind of get stuck in that. And that, again, that can be beneficial for someone to hear it a different way or to hear it multiple ways, whatever. But after a while, you're just like, oh, it seems like they're kind of creating in a vacuum of experience because they have been in this experience, the singular experience, for a really long time. And that can get a bit exhausting even to the creator, right? You also get exhausted by your own stuff after a while because there's nothing fueling it. It's just output with nothing underneath it. There's no actual like energy to it. And that's really important for your art, because if that's the case, if you notice that happening to you, you will probably self-sabotage. You will probably stop creating because you're like, well, there's nothing left in me to put out there. And then you end up in writer's block or artistic block. And then that makes you feel bad about yourself. You feel like I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough. See, I'm an awful artist. You get imposter syndrome, all that stuff. So it's important that you are consuming as much as you create. Making sure you're taking time to create, make sure you're sitting down at your desk or whatever. You're putting in the time to actually create things, and you're also giving yourself time and space to consume things. That is part of the process. That is not lazy. It's not you avoiding things necessarily. Sometimes it can be. It can be a distraction from doing the work, fair. But it should also be part of the process. Letting yourself take time to refuel your tank, to learn different perspectives, read different books, watch different movies, whatever that is for you, let yourself do that. I've learned that has helped me so much in terms of my own inspiration with the things I talk about. Getting out there, doing new things, just you have to fuel yourself in some way, because after a while it'll just feel draining and you will then sabotage yourself. You will think that you are not good enough and you will stop putting out things. And that's the worst thing that an artist can do. Because as I said in a previous episode, your art is a part of you that wants to be seen and heard. So if you stop creating it, you're going to feel so dissatisfied and you're going to feel so unseen by yourself even if you stop doing that. And sometimes I've noticed that the reason people stop doing it is because they have no fuel in their tank, because they haven't been consuming enough. So while I understand the saying of, create more than you consume, I get that. You don't want to get stuck in a loop of consumption and that's it. And you're now overstimulated and you have too much going on in your head. I get that. But honestly, I think it's really important to consume in order to be able to create. I think both work hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And there has to be a balance for you there. So yeah. And this is just for anybody who feels like they are stuck in feeling like they are too much of like a consumer, right? Maybe you feel like I watch too many shows. I watch too many movies. I spend most of my time, reading things or just hanging out with friends. Like that stuff is good. Too much of anything can be a bad thing, right? So yes, too much of that stuff can be negative and can be a sign that you are avoiding the work you need to do, that you're maybe letting a bit of your laziness, quote unquote, take over, in the sense of like, yeah, I just don't want to do it. And you're letting yourself lean into that over and over again, which obviously is not beneficial long term. But also it can be a great positive thing for your art. So don't shame yourself for it all the time. Don't feel guilty for it, which I think a lot of creatives out there do. They feel guilty for consuming because they think, no, I should always be creating. I should be writing, 2,000 words a day, every single day, and not wasting my time watching TV or whatever. It's like, no, art is in everything. Everything can be art. So you have to consume it. You have to let yourself do that. Don't hole yourself up in your room and just try and put things out and create and pull from within you that when you don't have anything left to give. So yeah, I hope this was helpful for any other creatives out there who are struggling with their motivation, their inspiration. Maybe you just need to consume more. Maybe you need to just watch movies, read more books, look at magazine pictures, whatever that is for you, whatever gives you that inspiration. Just walking outside can be really helpful. Seeing a friend, whatever. Maybe that's what you need. Maybe that's why you're feeling so drained that you have nothing left to give. But at the same time, you're maybe shaming yourself for doing things that are considered more lazy, quote unquote, or distractions. Maybe that's it, right? Even for me, as somebody who creates videos on TikTok, I also take time to be on TikTok because I want to be part of the discourse and what's going on, and I want to see different perspectives. That helps fuel me as well. Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. It can skew my perspective sometimes, fair. But a lot of time it really helps. So yeah, I hope this was informative. I hope it helped you get a different perspective on your creativity. If you want to talk with me one-to-one, you can obviously book a one-to-one call. You can also subscribe to my Substack if you want to read about these things, and follow my social media accounts. All the links will be below. Other than that, thank you for listening, and I'll be back again soon with another episode.